Welcome everyone, and this is um, our first go at it. So please be gentle in your critique, but we're going to do our best. Um, Good day, and thank you for joining this first session of our weekly Immersive Learning Futures scan. I'm Jonathan Richter. Today, we're grounding the conversation in the trunk of the Immersive Learning Research Network's knowledge tree, and that is computer science, engineering, and game design. In a future session, we'll talk more about the learning sciences, which would complete the three disciplines for our trunk. We're going to have supporting signals from theme parks and location-based immersive experiences. This combined frame allows us to surface early indicators across the technical, interactive, and narrative systems that shape the future of immersive learning environments. Our aim is to identify signals worth tracking over the coming scan cycle and to interpret how these developments might influence educational, cultural, and community-facing XR work globally. And I am so excited to have with us today our first special guest, Dr. Daithí Ó Murchú. Is it Murchú? How do you say your last name?
Go for the Murchú.
Murchú, gotcha. Murchú. I love it. Um, a vibrant, very interesting, long time, friend. We've collaborated together on a few smaller projects and run into each other across the metaverse in different aspects. But I'm really excited to have someone with such a big, expansive background as well as vision for how immersive learning could or and is impacting learning broadly. So welcome, Dahi. This is really fantastic.
Jonathan, thank you. And for all of our guests out there, and I know more will come in from the United States, hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And maybe a Spock would go, hey man, live long and prosper. Because let's face it, Star Trek was way ahead of its time. And we're talking XR tonight and everything you've laid out. Really looking forward to this conversation, Jonathan. And hey, audience, feel free to throw in questions there because
Yeah,
the one thing I want to say is this. I know nothing.
yeah,
And knowing nothing is a beautiful place to start because that means there are too many, Jonathan, and this is what worries me today. I've spent 40 years as a head teacher, as a teacher of elementary school, second level, third level, and indeed my oldest student in PhD was 92. And I remember him saying to me, "What will I write about, Professor?" I said, "I don't know, but write it quickly."
yeah,
And literally the privilege of being in service and at the
yeah.
same time working in industry and working in various areas and having the pleasure and privilege of meeting people like yourself with the vision that was transformative and transformational. I often say transformative changes what is. Transformational takes what is and brings it out into there. And that's where AI slash now we'll put it to the side. AR became VR or VR became AR because people were unsure. And now we're into the XR environment. So looking
That's right.
forward to talking about this tonight.
Well, thank you. We're really excited about that. What I'm going to do is first, I'm going to take our first trend signals. What the format of the show is that we're going to highlight some of the scans of the year 2025 in particular areas during this show, in addition to having a great conversation with our special guests. So I'll take that first scan and highlight a few of those things. We can use that as a springboard for our discussion. And then we'll get into dialogue and conversation with you, Dahi. And then I've got two more kind of trend areas to cover. And then we can either, continue our conversation or wrap things up. And that should take us about to the hour. Ready?
Go for it.
So the first signal comes from this is all computer science related scans that the Disney parks, in an effort to get people off of their phones, they're walking around Disney Park on their phone, where they want them to engage in the glorious, designed immersive experience around them. They're trying to get them off the phone. So what they've done is partnered with Meta, and they're looking at experimental smart glasses that you might don at the Disney parks to create context-aware overlays and multimodal sort of interactive tracking. So this is, as you were just saying, Dahi, that the kids these days, attention is the economy that we're in. And if people are not paying attention to the thing that educators or theme park designers or whatever the experience is, and they're instead paying attention to their phone or something else that just happens to be more engaging, Snapchat or whatever, then all of their design work and all of their efforts to prepare that experience is just severely, diffused. So they're trying to create this ambient XR experience that's lightweight and mobile and designed for continuous use in all of these complex Disney related immersive environments, experiences, these physical settings. So the relevance for immersive learning that facilitates this contextual instruction in museums and campuses and field sites and classrooms, right? Making attention that much easier, where it's not locked into the VR headset necessarily, but making the environment come alive in ways that students and consumers, uh, whoever is engaged, it's just that much more interesting. Um, some broad engineering indicators for this past year is you're seeing procedural generation that's starting to impact video games and also educational XR environments quite a bit, as Dahi was saying at the beginning of our intro here. AI is almost inseparable from immersive learning experiences, from XR. And as others have said, Kent Bai, I think, put it really well, that they've long been sort of digital siblings. That when you see an advance in AI or XR, you see the advance in the other one. And that's been decades. And so, yes, we've seen AI just rocket forward with the large language models, and you're starting now to see procedural generation used in XR in tandem. Cloud and local hybrid are rendering pipelines, and that's allowing some low cost infrastructure to be used. This is really helping out the deployment of things in remote areas, as well as just making the entire supply chain of XR experiences that more accessible when you can run everything off the cloud. Microhaptic actuation research
Mm.
is allowing people to reduce the burden on wearable devices because you're starting to get um, smaller, more contextual based integration with the hardware happening in XR. And then there's new XR toolkits that are lowering the cognitive load for non-experts. And we've seen this drive for low code, no code, or even low code or even no code. That's also been for many years, but it's really starting to impact the XR and the educational worlds together. So more people who don't necessarily know how to create things in Unity are able to create XR because of these new kinds of toolkits. So these shifts are making high quality immersive learning less resource heavy, more modular, and more accessible across institutions. And these are some of the scans that we have found for the year 2025 that are very relevant. Another signal is that indigenous healthcare and indigenous led XR is happening more frequently. And you're seeing at the University of Saskatchewan that they're focusing on healthcare and they're integrating sensor fusion, rendering, and interactive scenario frameworks to teach these culturally grounded medical decisions, really allowing these caregivers to understand what it's like to be in the indigenous people's shoes. Many people like Mel Slater, I think, is credited that I think it's Mel, that VR is this empathy tool, this incredible thing that allows people to understand what it's like to be from another perspective. And so this is really being used incredibly at the University of Saskatchewan and other places around the world. It demonstrates how we can depend on these computer science pipelines in ways that allow us to represent other ways of being. And that's incredible. The global trends that we're seeing are that we have lightweight mixed reality optical systems that are emerging in East Asia. AI enhanced virtual labs are springing up across India and Singapore, and cross platform interoperability standards are taking shape across Europe. Europe is really leading the way now in significant ways in this collaborative, working together with government and organizations to create these kinds of standards in ways that we didn't see just a couple of years ago. And so that's really, really great to see the European Union taking the lead there. Uh, Mobile first XR innovations are also improving access in South America. And so we're seeing in both Central and South America, you're seeing access is being improved through the integration of computer science and systems engineering. So you're seeing basically this global convergence towards more efficiency, interoperability, and AI augmentation with sort of regional differences in emphasis depending on the infrastructure that's in place and the expertise that is starting to converge in different kinds of areas. And so that's an overview of what we're seeing in computer science. Like I said, that is one of the three major um, components of the immersive learning ecosystem. Computer science plus game design or user experience plus learning sciences. You have to have the hardware, software, and engineering, the game design and the user experience, and anchoring it to learning outcomes in order to have that high quality immersive learning. So we thought it would be good to start our first uh, webinar here on the Innovators Forum with computer science, and we'll do game design after we have a chat with Daithí. And Daithí, what do you think of our format so far? What do you think? How are you doing?
Well, well, first of all, I'm doing well, Jonathan, and thank you for that. It's interesting that you brought up the idea. First one was Disney, because in
Mm.
a lot of people's mind, XR is a novelty. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. They
yeah,
don't see it more than just, hey man, it's a gaming thing. It's something that's in the gamers. You buy the laptop or the mobile device that can have 75,000 boom, 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 bang, bang, bang. And this is what
right.
it is. Now, but what I love about you and your work is you put it as a pedagogical ecosystem. And I like that. It's not a gadget. And therefore, it's situated in learning. And therefore, what Disney is trying to do is it's trying to take the sense of spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. But
Yeah,
if you take it as the novelty to see more than your phone, then we can create a situated learning environment whereby you can actually experience this, which is a kind of a scaffolded environment within that XR. I love the way you're doing that when you said Saskatchewan, which is doing again the whole sense of utilizing the XR environment. But if like what you're showing here, and I like this, is that XR we know transforms learning, and that's what you're saying when it's harmonized with pedagogy. But
Yeah.
most people do not see that harmonization of pedagogy and that sense of learning, and therefore it's still going to come back to a novelty. So, may I suggest something at this moment? From what you've just said in the four pieces, I actually see XR as I actually believe there are five missing pieces in the jigsaw right now with the
Mm.
trends in 2025 that I have the privilege at the moment with my colleague Peter Coakley, and in the projects we're doing like AI number four EDU, and the ideas
Mm.
like EcoSteam AI VR, we're doing Steamscape, and we'll put up all of these later on. And by the way, Jonathan, I've already telling you, I've produced a blog 20 on this, where I'm going to take all of your work and where I'm going to suggest this, and we will load it on LinkedIn in less than 24 hours to open this discussion. But can I suggest five little pieces here? Number
Yeah,
one,
yeah, of course, absolutely. This
what?
is great.
Let's take XR and AI together. Let's bring this Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Here's Luke over there. Look at him. Oh, the Force be with you, man. And let's look at, I am your father, Luke. Let's look at these two. If we bring XIAR together, then I see it as a superstructure of intelligence that will actually shape the future of XR. So, one, I see XR in what you've said there, particularly in that medical sense, particularly in the idea of computer science, particularly the idea of gaming. XR is an extension of cognitive agency. In
Mhm.
other words, XR is not just a novelty, it can become an extension of the cognitive agency whereby we co-design what we needed to do. I use XR in as a surgeon, for example, to create environments utilizing AI to guide me in a superstructure so I have less chance of error. Number two, I see in the education sphere teacher avatars as being utilized as co-agents for
Yeah,
students who are differently abled. I have the privilege of working with kids who are differently able, ADHD, LMNOP, QRSD, and students coming from Roma and traveler backgrounds, coming from Ukraine, war-torn, coming from sub-Saharan Africa, where they went from 47% attendance in schools to 98% in less than
right.
3 months because the AI XR brought in equity of opportunity, non-judgmental, that sense of superstructure. So that sense teacher avatar co-ed. Number three, agentic AI as, shall we say, companions, creating the agentic
Yeah,
AI in the XR environment as a companion for children to bring them to a place of ease and teachers to a
yeah,
place of ease because there's too much bloody dis-ease in the systems, i.e., we're going to do assessment. What kind of assessment? Well, we're going to do what we call standardized assessment. Yeah, but there's no two kids standardized in the whole bloody world. But what XRAI can do is it can create and take the curriculum and can put it into an environment where the human being in that harmonizing with pedagogy XIAR can actually find his, her, or their way to interact with the curriculum as a co-agent. And number four, I
mhm,
can see adaptive XR spaces in what you talked about there. So we
yeah,
have with ASI and AGI, superstructure AI, so the XR spaces will adapt to the human being who is with them. Now, I know I'm scaring the hell out of a lot of people here, but the reality is that horse left the corral 50 years ago. And now we're talking about all this fear of AI. And number five, what I've written about in blog number 19, which was the algorithmic, logarithmic immersion of XR and AI, whereby we can have a neurofeedback from the human being, like in sound, from the situation in which we are co-designers, in which we
mhm,
have agency to create, and that brings the gaming environment. Now, I can give you the Darth Vader on every one of those five pieces, but Jonathan, if I don't look in hashtag AI for good, then I'm going to cross over to the dark side. So I would say that everything you've shown there, and that picture you see here, when I was working with the likes of Mark Roddy and James Corbett and others who now have Air Immersive in Ireland, we created an avatar called Serenity. I christened her as she. Serenity, when I was on Everest, brought a sense of ease when I was at altitude. And Serenity was that avatar in which I, in an XR environment, coexisted to bring me to a place of ease when I felt it was getting too cold, the temperament, the environment was getting too harsh. So it was that sense of cognitive agency, that co-agent. So for
Mm.
25 years, we've been playing with the novelty, Jonathan. But no longer is it a novelty. Now it is a transformational opportunity for
Mm.
equity of opportunity. But there are those out there who would say it's just a bloody game.
Yeah. Well, the old metaphors are hard to get rid of. That I've thought this for years. After my friend and mentor Chris Deedy brought this up years ago, and he's like, there's just not very much research or emphasis on unlearning. And we live in this transformational ages, and what the frames that we had from years past have a tendency to continue forward. So we learned something that was correct about the world before, and it's really sometimes challenging to unlearn those those compartments. So games used to be separate from play, separate from learning. But now games are starting to really take all these different, integrated perspectives. And I absolutely
Yes.
think what you say is correct, that the unlearning is a challenge.
Well, let's face it, it's tougher said learn, unlearn, and relearn. And again, that
Yeah.
novelty, people are saying when you put someone into that immersive world, it's a bad thing. But I'm suggesting in XRAI, we go into immersive minds. We create, co-create, have agency in, with XRAI, we are co-agents in designing meaningful, mindful, soulful,
Mm.
conscious learning environments in which we are co-designers. And AI is empowering us to do this in the same way that I know some of our audience could say, does that not mean that we can actually create nuke bombs and we can destroy the world? And all I would say is, we've been doing that since the very beginning of time. It's
Yeah.
two things, Jonathan. I hope you might agree with us. Everything we have boils down to two things: choices and options.
Yeah.
We make the right choices from the right options, we turn it into something that's good. In other words, the simple spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. But if
Yeah.
we put too much sugar in, bloody diabetes and probably death. Choices and options, or as I often refer to, Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader. And that's
Yeah.
XRAI. It's up to everyone to make that choice.
That really is. And for the Immersive Learning Research Network, we want to opt on the Luke Skywalker side. We want to get as many good scientists and educators, artists, and other people to join in that force for good. Um, and so I really
Hashtag
like
AI for good.
what you're saying.
Hashtag AI. So can I go a step further and say what
Sure.
you do and what I love what you are doing in the iLearning immersive environment is this. You're looking at, and I would suggest these five pieces of a jigsaw. And like I say, blog 20, I'm going to throw it at you, and we're going to put this into the next, hopefully, hopefully you co-author on this one. Let's throw this into the next baby and let's get it peer reviewed. No disrespect to all you peer reviewers. Hope you understand what we're going to say about this. But if we have intentional blending in the XRAI environment, intentional blending of empathy, intuition, moral reasoning with the AI, then we will have computational creativity. And the XR AI, what I call humanaiology, the human at first, the AIology second, then we will have expanded human capacity in that XR AI, and then it becomes a Luke Skywalker journey where we are equitably inclusive. And again, I come back to my work in West Africa. Why would I give the children in West Africa desktops when I can now give them XR environments that bring them into Industry 5? Why
Mhm.
in God's name would I do, sorry to my colleagues in Great Britain and many of the Nordic countries, basically say, no more gadgets, throw out all the screens, the kids are spending too much time. Give them meaningful, mindful, soulful, conscious awareness time with the gadgets so that they then can continue with the teacher first. That's what I call ultra-humanism. Teacher first,
Mm.
curriculum first, person first, human first, technology second. And
Yeah.
then you can then embrace the transformative and transformational experiences of the XR AI. And that's what I learn is trying to do what you're doing. And I love this. Problem
Yeah.
is, 99 of every 100 people are going to say, crucify him, shoot him. And that's okay, because 25 years ago, Jonathan, we came up with this idea, and Serenity, actually, which Mark Roddy and others, we brought them to the place in Ireland of the Lake Isle of Innisfree with music, with the noise of the lakes and the lapping of the water, and people said, bury it. That was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but the gamers nowadays, I know kids come into school and their eyes are red and they're falling out, and I can see that. I can see
Yeah.
that. But the reality is, surely parents need to stand up and take responsibility here. Don't blame the AI. Don't blame the game. Blame, in many ways, the human beings who are not saying, and I know this, any of you who are out there who are parents, I'm going to actually introduce World War IV here. Turn off the Wi-Fi. Once you turn off the Wi-Fi, World War IV, Jonathan.
Yeah. I like the riddle that, if you solve this riddle, then you'll get the Wi-Fi password. Like, you know.
Yes, 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 yes. And we are as educators and as everyone, even if you take what you put up there in the sense of where we're going in that science, the world of science, the world of particularly medical science, and that whole sense of immersion, when you can get doctors in Australia who 3,000 miles away can actually perform operations because they're
Mm.
using robotics in an XR environment. Wow.
Right.
I mean, come on. When Gene Roddenberry came out, and literally before, beam me up, Scotties, beam me up, Captain. I mean, people thought it was all science fiction. Now it's not science fiction, nor is it science faction. It is real. And by the way, beep, beep, beam me up, Scotty, Bluetooth. I mean,
Yeah.
literally everything that, okay, I suppose when you think about it, I suppose Flash Gordon did go to the moon in 1969, even though we got
Right.
people out there who say it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about tonight, and I'm loving this as the first part of the disruptive discussion, would be that if we are co-designers, if we take agency, if we go to the side of Luke Skywalker, if we look at hashtag XR AI or XR hashtag for good, and we look at it as something that is a human and AI and XR as co-agents together, and we can co-create and coexist, then we can actually, in that design-based thinking model, create a sustainability like a forest school. And the forest school comes into the reality of where we find ourselves because people are going back to the old way of forest schools. But there are people who live a very far distance away from forest schools and people who are sadly every day passing away with diseases. And when you put them into an XR environment, that sense of cognitive connection brings them very often to a place of ease within themselves from a resonance point of view. And that XR AI can actually be the last bridge of that intentional blending of empathy, intuition, moral reasoning,
Mm.
awareness, consciousness, human AIology. I
Yeah.
see so much potential here, Jonathan. But like I said, I could easily become Darth Vader here, but I have no intentions of going that way because too many people are actually going that way. So philosophical
Yeah.
and pedagogical meet. And Giannis out there, if you follow him on or Guido van Dijk, if you follow them, you see they brought out the Archimedes ecosystem of learning right now, which is
Mm.
launched. If you put in Archimedes ecosystem of learning, you'll see people are now looking at ways they're creating LLMs and beyond. Guido van Dijk and ourselves are doing this in LLMs as well, and we're trying to introduce XR AI. And actually, at the moment, it's It's actually working. And you said, may I finish on this? You said Europe is way, way, way ahead. And with the European EUAI Act, it is. But there's a stringency in there where the different levels, which many companies are kicking back against because it's too stringent. It's actually hindering the development of that human AIology. So there's a big kickback. And today, the fifth edition of what we call the European Competencies 3 was actually launched, the fifth edition today from the European Commission, and it's called Eurocomp. And it's interesting to see the slight differences that are there. I think people are beginning to realize we need as humans to lead, to embrace, to co-design, but to actually not allow ourselves to be led.
Right. Yep, there's all that tension between, you know, over organizing with rigid structure versus having it so loose that, nothing gets done, or you can't have a goal direction. So there needs to be that happy balance. But yeah, I mean Europe is definitely leading in terms of trying to create those organizational standards that work. And definitely there's trade-offs in that process.
And
Fascinating.
there are. And that's why I changed my background right now, even at this moment, because that's one of the projects, which is the sense of I take it away like this, the AI for EDU. I mean,
Yeah.
literally right now, we're using two things called TeacherMate and Study Buddy. And the TeacherMate empowers the teacher to co-design in various
Uh-huh.
curricula. And the study buddy then engages with the student to become a study buddy like a co-agent. And
Right.
good news is, second level of that has just been passed by the European Union for funding, actually less than 24 hours ago. And it's a huge privilege to be part of this. But the next level, Jonathan, is where Jonathan Doctor comes in. The XR enters into the Luke, I am your father. So it's going to be fun over the next 3 years, unless I opt out of this hashtag there is no planet B, to see how we can do this with AI for EDU.
Yep. Well, iLearn is, I think, one of those organizations that's really trying to amass these kinds of efforts. I love your vision, I love your optimism, and I love your groundedness in all of these different, current activities that are happening, Ducky. We would love for more people to join our State of XR and Immersive Learning reporting effort on our Discord around the world. We've got 5 continents that we're scanning from. Um, and I know we could just keep going on and on. Would it be all right if I kind of uncovered the 2 more trends, and then we'll hopefully have a little bit of time here at the end to keep
You're the
going?
boss.
I think you'll
You're the
love
boss.
you'll love some of these other ones because we're talking, um, game design.
Yeah.
Um, some of the emergent signals that happened in game design in 2025 are these, relevant to what Dahi was saying. The AI agents and non-player character systems in commercial game engines are rocketing forward. These new tools for branching narrative and systems thinking and the co-located multiplayer experiences. Of course, the game design, user experience trends go hand in hand very much with the computer science trends. But let's take a quick look at these signals. Um, the emergent AI agents and non-player character systems in commercial games. Uh, these game engines like Unity, Unreal, and Godot have expanded support now for large model driven non-player character or NPC behaviors, such things as conversational agents. They can maintain memory states and social goals and adaptive learning patterns, are really creating much more customized, engaging, and interactive experiences. The relevance for immersive learning, I think, is probably obvious to everyone, but it opens up the possibilities for simulations with responsive characters who can coach or model, prompt reflection, or help problem solve. You were just talking about this
Hmm.
about AI agents who are able to be your pal or your mentor and really help you. They don't get tired. They customize to your particular personality, and they help kind of create sort of this level of engagement that we just haven't had with these much more static systems in the past. These these emergent AI agents and NPC systems are also bridging game design structures with pedagogical scaffolding. So you can be playing your game, but it can also anchor and orient yourself towards learning goals depending on how the NPCs and the agents are designed, right? So soft skills training, Body Swaps is just a Canadian company that I think is worth mentioning here. And their work in soft skills training, narrative-based disciplines in creating these kinds of things. These are all very, very relevant for immersive learning. And like I say, they really kind of dovetail on top of the cloud-based and the other advances that are happening in computer science. So the sixth signal, just broadly, there's these new tools for branching narratives and systems that we have independent games studios and other titles are adopting these lightweight tools, modular narrative assemblies, dynamic quest logic, and systematic simulation layering, so that the environment and the character and the resource interactions can be much more dynamic than they were in previous game designs. How is that relevant for immersive learning? Well, they improved our capacity to teach causality, trade-offs, and decision making. It also, because that you can replay these with different angles and different systems dynamics put into the next time you play it, you can go at these systems and understand those interconnections in a much more um, expansive way that students can really see over time through multiple plays how that system kind of works together. So by making decisions based on the conditions of one system for the first gameplay, they'll go back in and they'll make similar decisions and it'll have much different results. And that's the nature of systems, right? They can increase the use of sandbox learning models where the learners can experiment safely within a controlled gaming environment or simulation environment. And then you can guide the experiential pathways for different students and yet remain flexible around particular dynamics. This might be particularly of interest for students with disabilities or students with particular cultural backgrounds where some things are off limits or the way that they think and understand the world is dramatically different than the way the game designer does because they can adapt to those different learner preferences and differences. Signal 7 are co-located multiplayer experiences. You're finally getting to this place where synchronous multiplayer cooperation with spatial audio and shared objectives is repopularizing sort of the shoulder-to-shoulder play, even within these virtual worlds. Um, this is a Godbreaker, I think the new one is called. That's a screenshot from that. And these patterns really map well to collaborative problem solving, distributed teamwork training, and facilitated museum experiences or classrooms where the shared XR spaces around particular problem sets or challenges, um, different students taking up different roles can emphasize their qualities or emphasize different perspective depending on the roles that they play in different instances. So this is really helping with the incredible power that's being put into the cloud-based work. So a lot of that rendering and the interaction is now able to happen in ways that we just couldn't do it before. Um, and then finally, for the last trend area that we're covering on this first issue of the Illuminators Forum is theme park and location-based experience signals. This is obviously related. Uh, Disney got that first trend at the beginning of our show on the use of meta headsets being worn to get people off their phone through, transparent XR and be able to engage with the built environment in ways that we couldn't before. But you're also seeing Disney with their Imagineering starting to co-create uh, rides and immersive experiences using XR and the development of these environmental narrative systems. Universal Studios creating some mixed reality rides for prototyping. And then you're seeing the aquariums and zoos that are using projection mapping on particular kinds of learning zones in ways that are really um, amping up the experience for people who are going to those environments. So Disney Imagineering, you're getting the theme park R&D teams are developing these environmental adaptive storytelling that's adjusting light, sound, and projection based on how many people are in the space and how people are flowing through the space. And you're really showing that you're getting this maturing practice in situational adaptive experience design. This is really useful for immersive learning because uh, you can do all the planning in the world with your lesson plan or your educational your training environment, and then things the way that it actually happens on the ground when it comes to the day of, you've got differences in the crowd or the classroom or the group that's going through that. And so adaptive storytelling can really assist those teachers and trainers in ways that we're hoping. So implications for campus tours, galleries and museums, libraries, and other kind of public spaces. You can see that coming up. Universal Studios mixed reality ride prototyping. They're testing these in-house tools that are combining these simulated ride physics, real-time avatar tracking, and high-resolution LED volumes for visualizing these new attractions before they happen. And this is nothing like super new. I remember, San Francisco's Exploratorium doing exactly this in the virtual world of Second Life back in 2007, 2008. They would prototype their exhibits in Second Life before they made them real, and they would get focus groups and other people co-designing the experiences, as well as creating experiences that literally could not be done in real life IRL. The Exploratorium did all sorts of very interesting virtual attractions where you could blow up the physical structure of a butterfly's wing and see that it isn't chemical that causes the iridescent changes in the butterfly's wing. It's physical. It depends on the angle of the light coming off of the wing, and you could really see that in the Second Life uh, prototype. So I can see the mixed reality really coming into view in lots of different ways for education, including rapid prototyping of scientific visualizations like the butterfly's wing that the Exploratorium did, safe practice zones for engineering and design students. They may be working on nuclear, fusion or something, if there is such a thing, nuclear fission, uh, and doing it in a safe environment, or shared collaborative workspaces for scenario walkthroughs. Students could co-create different kinds of architectural or any kind of environment, and then invite their parents, their peers, and the community to do a walkthrough of those. So I can see real interest in education for these kinds of mixed reality prototypes. And then finally, we have the projection mapped learning zones in zoos and aquariums, where they're taking these projections of things and integrating motion sensing and environmental storytelling inside the aquarium. And these can serve as test beds for embodied learning, spatialized curriculum design, and hybrid digital physical teaching environments. So check out your local zoo or local aquarium and see what they're doing in terms of projection mapped learning. So I'll stop here on this. We've got a little bit of time before the top of the hour. Dahi, what do you think of those trends?
But you see, all of those trends, whether it's I suppose the whole idea of they were called everything from Illuminators to whatnot. And we had a school out in North Dublin,
Hmm.
Malahide, Portmarnock, Educate Together. We did a whole project on this and did it with children from many different nationalities. And it turned into this co-design frenzy of everyone of whatever ability he, she, or they came from, of different working together as a collaborative team. Like I said, those five pieces, you had an extension of nearly cognitive agency. You had that sense of the avatars that were created, but also when you see what they're doing now in museums, because again, sadly, people don't seem to want to go to the idea of the zoo or going to the aquarium anymore because it's boring, because now they're going to 4K, 5K, 27,000K films that have 56D. Oh, I mean, it's nearly gone to a stage right now where it's nearly overpowering. But
Yeah.
what I'm loving about this is we're at this crossroad where we've been before, where the XR AI can actually turn it again, like I said, from that novelty and from that space which was used, let's be honest, Jonathan, from escape from reality, which is what a lot of people thought AR and VR was, escape from reality, to actually a place or a space where you can actually rehearse for a better
Yeah.
reality. And that's why I'm after changing my background again. We're using XR in a project called Synapses. And
Hmm.
Synapses is taking the curriculum so that we can put people into an environment where they can actually create a better reality because hashtag there is no planet B. How can we better understand the environment and
Hmm.
ourselves interacting with the AR, VR, XR so that we say, oh, we're only one small person, we can do nothing. And I often said to someone, did you ever sleep with a mosquito? Oh, you can see what one small little mosquito can do damage wise. We
Yeah.
all have that capacity. What I'm loving about what you showed there is the world is in this sense of nearly a shift from a pre-built virtual, or we'll call it traditional world, to nearly a self-evolving learning ecosystem. And that's what iLearn is doing. You're challenging all the members to go into that self-evolving learning ecosystem. Again, if I can mention going onto the LinkedIn with Yanis and Guido and see what they're doing there, what we've been doing on EcoSteam AI VR, where, for
Yeah.
example, we're taking the Manx language. Manx? Yeah, the language spoken on the Isle of Man. Basque. Basque? Yeah, spoken in the north of Spain. Gaelic, Irish. And we're
Yeah.
putting them into LLMs whereby the teachers and the students are able to engage, enable, empowered in the XR AI environment to, on an equitable base, connect with cognitively, personally, and the sense pedagogically co-design their own learning environments,
Hmm.
personalized, intelligent tutoring. But I
Yeah.
hear the teachers going, so you're trying to replace us. No, ultra humanism is teacher first, student first, human first,
Yeah.
curriculum first, AI technology second. We have nothing to fear
No.
except our own stupidity or fear itself. And the reason I call it stupidity is we give away our agency. And what you've just brought out there in the Illuminators Forum, which is what this is about, and I hope this continues and others will take it up next week and the week after, is we as human beings are very beautiful. Oh man, but we, again, choices and options.
Right.
And that's what it boils down to. And if we want to do this self-evolving learning ecosystem, and we want to go from immersion to identity expansion, in other words, the game is designed this way, but the user will design the game personally to do this. The designers, very often, and the users are two different things. And in that environment, which is an evolving ecosystem, will empower that to happen. And that's what I'm loving about this. So we've cognitive expansion, emotional recalibration, if I may say so. I
Yeah.
know I'm going over ethical consciousness. Daithí, you're going to be shot. And humans flourishing through AI XR augmentation. And that's what I'm loving about iLearn. And thank you for the invitation to come back into the family again after all of this going out into Arcturia and the weird other worlds to now come back into where we are now. Thank you for tonight's invitation.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I've known you're a personality and someone with so much character and the right orientation. I was absolutely right. I knew bringing you on the show was going to be perfect for our inaugural immersive learning sort of weekly with this Illuminators Forum, and you've illuminated so much of this big picture. You've grounded it in some of the projects that you've been doing. Thank you for joining us and really kind of setting the tone for this
You, you're
inaugural
welcome. And my
program.
last picket behind me is there it is, agentic AI. Whether
Yeah,
you like it or not, that's where we're going. And I'll
here
tell
it
you a good
is.
one. I was in Barcelona recently and I saw a person waiting 7 minutes for a cup of coffee prepared by a robot. And I went,
Yes.
why didn't you just boil the kettle and make the coffee yourself, man? But we're in that era now of agentic AI XR. And that's the transformational capacity that we now have as humans to go forward in business, in ed tech, in the whole future. And yes, will AI replace jobs? AI will replace a lot of jobs, but not the human being who uses the human traits to utilize AI to accelerate and to augment those. And that's what I'm loving about the illuminator. And even the word, thank you, the illumination. It's like not Illuminati.
No, no.
No. Illuminators Forum. And what a wonderful way to start the weekend. And I say to you, muchas gracias, and Gaurav Mila Margaret, and all the languages, merci beaucoup, and all the languages that one would use in Dankeschön, because I often say to children when I'm going out a door, and you're going to love this, Jonathan, when I go out a door with young children in school, I say, Slán, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, bis bald, tschüss, do widzenia, do spadania, ciao, hotzi, and dong yang yang. They go, oh my God. And I go, exactly.
Yeah,
Now it's over to you.
that's
What you're doing
fantastic.
is incredible, and I'm loving what you are creating in the environment of iLearn, that immersive. May every single Friday night go beyond this way.
Thank you so much. That was an absolutely perfect way to end this. I will see you on our Discord as we continue to make scans, and I'm looking
Yes.
forward to the next time you'll be able to join us on our show.
And Blog 20 is coming where I'm going to hop up here and it's going to go up on my LinkedIn fairly soon. And I'm going to go out there and say, let's take this AR, VR, XR to the next level and let
Yeah,
people engage with that. And let's do this. So Blog 20 coming in 24 hours.
fantastic. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure we'll get lots of reshares of that, and that'll help us so much in our quest to get high quality experts and designers and educators involved in this community effort. So thank you so much again, Daithí.
My
Uh,
privilege, my honor.